So to start off, this printer does have a print resolution of 4800 by 2400 dpi.
Of disabling the ink monitoring system and continue to use these cards. It's a little bit unorthodox method, but it's the only option we currently have. We have here the instructions, which for a change I will actually read them. Software disks, there's a couple of disks of some software and possibly some utilities. Now I have heard down the grapevine that the original set of ICC profiles that was included on whatever version driver this happens to be, I'm going to have to go to the Canon site and compare the two versions. This is 1.0, so I'm sure there's a new one I've heard, has redone ICC profiles. Apparently there was a problem with the original ones. That may affect some people, that may not affect some people, but I will look into that for all of you. Of course, the heart of the printer is the print head. This is of course a Canon print head, so it is thermal in nature. You have to be very careful with it. In fact, because we're going to disable the ink monitoring system, we have to make darn sure that we never, ever let the cards run dry. In fact, we must refill them before they reach, say, to be safe, about a third from empty. That would be the best option, and you would have to visualize that by popping off the card that mostly goes empty, which is probably going to be the lighter blacks. They get used up quite a bit higher rate than the other colors are. I'm going to show you later on a method that I have devised to allow us to determine when we should check the cartridges for need to refill. And basically this will involve figuring out some square footage and that sort of thing. But more on that later. We have a power cord, of course. No, this is a USB, little shorty one. I'm not going to use it. I have a 10-footer waiting in case I need to go the USB route. Although this is Wi-Fi. And of course the power cable. And we have a CD, DVD disc holder if we wish to print discs. Now I have a Primera Bravo 2 automated disc printer, so I will not be using this. Any owners of a Epson Artisan series know how superior that system is, because the tray is built into the printer. There's no way you're going to misalign anything. Even though these white areas are used as sensing spots for the printer positioning sensors, it's still a lot easier and a lot more accurate to use just a simple Artisan all-in-one printer to print your DVDs or CDs. Okay, so now that we have gone over all the contents, let's go ahead and start removing all of this tape and start digging into the inside of the printer. Okay, so now I've opened up the little instruction book packet, and it's extremely sparse. I'm going to have to download, and hopefully a more thorough instruction book, or maybe a PDF will be included with the disk itself. This is Mac OS, which I will not be using, so off to the side it goes. Those of you who do use Mac OS, I suggest you download the latest driver from the actual Canon site and not use the Macintosh download utility for drivers. That's been, sort of the experience that I have amassed by reading so many posts from people using the Mac OS and Canon printers. So let's go ahead and start opening this baby. And the first thing I'm presented with is this piece of plastic and a block of styrofoam that holds or prevents the print carriage from bouncing around while being shipped. And if you ever think that UPS or DHL or any other companies is gentle with your packages, don't believe it. My son works for them. So as you can see, we have orange tape everywhere. One of the main reasons for something jamming during the time you are trying to run a test print is because you forgot to remove some of that tape somewhere. Now, I have to say that I bought this printer from a Craigslist poster, and he had already opened the box, so I think most of the tape was already removed. The reason he sold it is because it basically did not fit on his printing desk that he had in mind. So I'm looking in the back to make sure there's no other tape or anything that's going to cause a head crash when I try to restart this. I'm going to show you the back of the back feed loader. We have a regular top loader, as you can see, that acts as any other printer would act. It's rather neat that it prints right down the middle of the print path rather than to the right. If we're just going to talk about Canon Pro series, the Pro 900, 9500, everything printed from the right to the left, in other words. So if you wanted to do a 4x6, you had to push it over to the right and adjust one single adjustment, side adjustment. This one apparently is different. It works from the middle, and apparently it will do 4 inches approximately up to 13. Same thing in the rear. We have the same thing. It's rather difficult to see, but as you can see, it operates in the same manner. The only difference is, I believe this only takes what looks to me at this point about an 8-inch max or 8.5-inch max width. So you're not going to be running little 4x6s out of the back loader. There is also a what appears to be a straight path front loader. I'm going to have to look at the PDF that hopefully comes with a CD, or I'll just download the large manual from Canon and see what this is all about and how to utilize it. I did not notice in the back whether there was a corresponding slot for a straight path, as some printers tend to have. I think I know the 3000, the R3000s have a straight path for loading thick paper and card type stock. But anyway, this is something that to tell you the honest truth, I never ever use on my printers. I will use the rear feeder and I will use the top feeder, and that's basically as far as I go. None of my papers exceed more than 300 grams weight, so they all feed rather well through those two paper paths. Alright, in the next segment I'm going to go ahead and power up the printer. I'm going to lift the cover up. I'm going to lower the tray, and the empty carriage will position itself in the middle. I will then install the print head and allow it to be recognized by the printer. Once that occurs, I will start loading all of the ink cartridges one by one. And once everything is loaded, I'm going to go ahead and install the printer driver, which I will download from Canon. I'm not going to utilize this one. I'm going to download their newest driver for this particular printer model. Alright, so see you in a bit. Okay, so I went ahead and downloaded the PDF instruction booklet, and it's really no better than this one. Basically, it's a printing guide. Doesn't really tell you much about how to install the printer. So I already know how to do it because I've done many Canons before. this one. But if you're a first-time Canon user, you would want to follow these instructions. And as you saw earlier, I went ahead and took everything that I could find that had to do with tape, removed the carriage stop that came with the printer, that styrofoam block that was located in the middle here. And now we're at step number 4, which indicates that we should plug it into some power. And we're going to do that right now. I'm going to do this real time so that you can see what I'm doing. The plug is located on the lower left side of the printer as you're looking at from the front. Alright, so now we're going to power up the printer as indicated here in section 4. Next, we will lift the 2 lids. It's going to give us an alarm that basically says, hey, there's no head installed in this printer. We'll wait for that to occur. And then open up the lid, which will then move the print carriage to the center position, which is the position used to install the head and install the ink cartridges. This is taking a little bit of time. I'll just let it run. I want to do this real time so you know what to expect exactly. I'm not going to edit out any of this lengthy process. Okay, so we have now the Wi-Fi has been activated. We did not get an alarm. The instructions actually claim that there would be an alarm or some kind of a warning light. Alright, so now you can see that the printer carriage has moved to the central position. So we're going to go ahead and get our print head. Okay, and here we have the print carriage in the middle position. This rectangular unit here that has this component that has all of those little connectors is what actually talks to the print head and communicates with it. We're going to go ahead and open up the container that has the print head and carefully remove the unit from the package. Now, Canon print heads, since they are user installed, come loaded with a liquid or transport liquid or fluid. So we're going to go ahead and take the protective cover from the bottom of the printer head, like so. And you can see the bottom of the print head. You can see the part that mates with those pins located where I showed you. Now we're going to go ahead and lift the lid up, and carefully we will insert the print head in position, like so. And it basically fits just like that. Then you're going to bring this back down and lock it. Now we can go ahead and install all of the ink cartridges. I spent a few minutes lining up my carts by color so that they match the order in which they are to be installed. And I'm going to start from the right toward the left So cyan, cyan, light gray, photo magenta, gray, black, yellow, cyan, and magenta. So we'll go ahead and do the first one, and then after that, really, you don't need to watch me install all of these cards. I'm gonna go ahead and just show you how to pop one in, and we'll do the rest off camera. One thing I have to bring up is that these cards are filled to the very top. Now, those of you who refill Canon cards may have heard quite often that you're not supposed to fill them maybe past 3/4 on the liquid reservoir side. These cards apparently were filled by vacuum, and they are filled, I mean, there's just a little air bubble visible on the liquid side. Of course, what you don't want to do is to have that sponge completely saturated, because that will literally bring liquid ink into the air maze and will give you an airlock, basically. So you don't want to do that. But from new, yeah, they're filled all the way to the top. So we'll just snap off the bottom and insert the first card in position. You see that the red light goes on. We'll do this with the rest of them. I'll just do one more, and then I'll do the rest off camera, and I'll come back when they're all installed before I close the lid, so that you will see it go into the purging cycle, which is going to load ink into the print head and get it ready to do our first job, which will be a head alignment. So we'll see you in a few minutes. I'll have all of these rest of these cards installed. Okay, now we're going to put the last one in, the magenta, and we are done. I'm going to proceed to close the lid and allow it to do its thing. I'm going to go ahead and prepare some paper while it is still charging. I'm going to let it run. That way you can time how long the charge actually takes. That way you get an actual real-time idea. Meanwhile, the noise you will hear is me cleaning up the mess I just made on the floor. Now, very likely, if this is like any other printer, the initiation process will use up quite a bit of ink. This ink is not totally lost. Some of it is used to prime the head, but some of it is, of course, used to be pushed through the head itself to make sure that no air exists in any of its nozzles. So that goes into the waste ink pads. Subsequent replacements of ink, you will be able to take advantage of the complete volume of ink that's in each cartridge. Only the first time you initiate the printer will it actually waste some ink. The next step we will perform will be the installation of the driver, and then we'll do our head alignment. And once that's completed, we are done. We can begin to print. So we are now in step number 5, which ends the basic installation procedure of the printer. It has done the purging cycle or initiation cycle, it is ready to be installed now at the computer level. That didn't take very long. Okay, now we're back at the computer. I'm going to show you something that the Pro versions of Canon printers will install for you. And I'll show you that both of the 900 and 9500 have it. You have the regular driver, which is for 8-bit files, and then you have a XPS driver, XPS. This driver allows you to print from software like Lightroom, Photoshop, which allows you to print directly from 16-bit files, which will improve your gradations and your tonalities somewhat. It smooths them out. It actually prevents possible banding that may occur on 8-bit files. So say for instance you're working directly from you see right here the same thing, directly from a raw file in Lightroom, and you want to now print. Well, the Canon drivers allow you to print in full 16-bit, but you must install both drivers. Now with the Pro 9000 and 9500, it installed both of them automatically, but that is not the case with the Canon Pro 100. You must install this one and you must install this one. So let's go ahead and proceed. As you can see in this folder here, I have every application and piece of software that I thought I would need, and we'll begin with the driver and then we'll proceed with others, some of the printing applications that you get. Now you will be presented by this diagram here. We're going to go ahead and hit next, and you gotta bear with me, this is the first time I've installed a Pro 100, so we'll have to see what happens. I'm going to attempt to install it using the Wi-Fi option. It is telling me select this option when using the printer by connecting it to the computer with a USB cable. After software installation, the procedure to connect your computer with the printer appears. Click USB connection, then wait until the next screen appears. Or select this option when you are using the printer with a computer over your network LAN when we're using the printer with other computers. So it is showing me a Wi-Fi type connection, and we'll go ahead and try it. We'll cross our fingers. It says wired connection, which would be you would use a Cat6 or Cat5 network cable, and wireless. We're going to go ahead with wireless at this point, and hopefully we will be able to directly connect to the printer automatically. It says connect to the network and wireless setup using the USB cable. So it looks like I'm going to have to install the USB cable temporarily, and that's extremely similar to the Artisan series. There's another method here. I really don't know too much about wireless type technology, so I'm going to go ahead and play it safe and use this one. So I'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, I'm back now. By the way, the USB port is on the rear right lower side. Power plug is on the rear left lower side. Alright, so let's go ahead and go for broke here. It says that it's going to take somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. Hopefully not. So let's go ahead and hit next. I'm going to read this really quick. Yeah, we're done. And yes. And it's asking me to allow my firewall or antivirus software to not reject this installation. It could possibly alert me that Canon is trying to install the product. But I'm going to permit all, and it's going to go now and install that driver, and here is the level of progress. It's going to take about 2 minutes, so I'll go ahead and pause now and come back when it's totally finished. Okay, now it's searching for printers on the network. It says use a USB cable to set up a network connection for a new printer. I have done that. Connect the printer and the computer using USB cable, which I have done. It says detection may take some time. When detection is completed, the window closes automatically. Okay. Okay. I had to actually switch my USB cord. Normally my printers are all connected to the computer via powered hubs, and so now we will go ahead and set up the network connection. Connecting it directly to the computer did the trick. So now I can actually disconnect it once it is done registering with my network. It is still using the actual connection. So now it's telling me disconnect the USB cable that was connected to the printer, which I will do now. And next, and complete. Excellent. Okay, that was relatively painless, except for that little problem with the USB cord and the hub. Okay, so now there are a multitude of softwares, including some instruction manuals for certain things. I believe this is the 16-bit driver. Let me go ahead and begin to load it just to see if indeed it is. Of course, you can see all of the very cryptic names, almost unrecognized. Yeah, XPS driver. And let's see if it allows me to install it without connecting to the USB again. Yeah, sometimes printers connect flawlessly easy, sometimes they do not. This wasn't too bad. Okay, so I installed it very well. Okay, now comes the applications. What do we have here? Color Management Tool Pro. And I assume all of this stuff is included in the CD, but what I wanted to do was to make sure that I was installing the newest driver, which is the 1.1, whereas the disk only comes with a 1.0. I suppose I could update, but I just wanted to start from fresh. Now we're gonna install Canon Print Studio, which is the plugin for Photoshop. And you have two options. You can print allowing Photoshop to control color through an ICC profile for your paper, and then turning off color management within the Canon Pro 100 driver. Or you can just use the plugin. Basically, it's a file automate function. You load the plugin up, and whatever image you had open will appear within the plugin, and then you basically choose your layout parameters, the paper type, and all of the different normal parameters, and that plugin does a pretty darn good job in producing a fairly neutral print. I've never tried this particular one, but I look forward to testing it as soon as we are done here loading all of these goodies. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to our devices and printers and see if we can locate our brand new printer. It should be right there, and it's our default printer for now. I'm going to go ahead and look at the printing preferences. It's very similar to the older versions. Make sure that we have instructions. Yep, that got installed. And look at the printer status. We have full inks, as you can see here. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a printhead alignment. I'm going to go ahead, actually let's do a nozzle check first. And if you have owned a regular Pro 9000 or 9500. It's basically the same thing. So I'm not going to go ahead and bore you with showing you a nozzle check. I'll just go ahead and do it, and then we'll proceed with the head alignment, and I'll take a shot. As you can see, it's identical to the other two printers. So right now it is printing, as you can see down here, and I'll be back in a few seconds. Okay, and you can see the basic Canon type nozzle check. It's perfect. Go ahead and now do the alignment procedure, which is an automatic alignment. Okay, as you saw, the nozzle check was perfect. So we will go ahead and begin the second operation, which is the automatic alignment. It says that it will require 2 sheets, and it is, I can hear it right now getting ready. Okay, and that's the final alignment sheet. So now we can proceed to
pictures that come out of this printer, and it's just amazing, and I will show you a couple of them later on in this video. So here's me using the AirPrint feature, really just selecting the image, hitting print, and that automatically sends it directly to your printer wirelessly. You don't have to sync it or connect it to anything. It's just using a photo in your photo library. And with this, you will only be able to print up to 5x7 image prints, and you can print 4x6 also, but the maximum size is 5x7.